Hey, Set Apart students, thank you for tuning into tonight's message. Well, tonight we're going to talk about somebody you may or may not have heard of. It's a guy named Eutychus, and we can learn a lot from Eutychus' story. And we're going to be challenged in many ways as we break down what happened in a certain event in Acts chapter 20 and how we can learn from it. Well, we want to know what God's doing in your life, so be sure to leave a comment down there. Once again, thank you for tuning in to Set Apart Student. I got another Datrin story. Y'all know, yeah, you can do that. Y'all know who Datrin is? Yeah, Datrin, my best friend growing up. Huh? Yeah, let's. They've never. Have y'all seen Datrin? I'm gonna show y'all Datrin. Okay. Datrin has a kid named Datrin. They call him DJ. DJ broke his arm, but he's okay now. He's okay now. He's okay now. Y'all know Datrin, like, super good at basketball. Like the older one, Like D1 offers to play at Florida. Was the best 3-point shooter in the state of Mississippi in high school. Like, this is Datrin. All right, this is Datrin. Datrin was great in a lot of stuff. Datrin had a problem though. All right, is it airdropping? Okay, yeah. Let's get a picture of Datrin before we because you got to see him. Y'all like the PowerPoint? It's simple. Simple. Yeah, it's simple because we were handing out food until. Can y'all see him? Hello, y'all see him? That's Datrin and his wife Kaylee, and that's Datrin Jr. I went to high school with both of them. Kaylee has a brother named Lane and a sister named Carissa. I went to high school with all of them, but not DJ. Not DJ. Huh? Datrin's like 6'3", 6'4". Yeah, he's tall. Anyways, Datrin had a problem. Okay, Datrin. It didn't matter what it was. Datrin wanted to fight. All right. Be like, hey, Datrin, how was school? Are you gonna whoop me? I'm like, I just want to know like how the math test went. Like, we ain't gotta jump to that. Actually, this is how me and Datrin met. Datrin tried to fight me. That's how me and him met, right? And I told him I wasn't gonna fight him. And then the next day he was knocking on my door. We were in 6th grade. He said, hey, you want to play outside? I said, yeah. And the rest is history, right? Rest is history. That's Datrin right there. Yeah, DJ is a lot older than that now. DJ's like 4 now. Anyways, Datrin always wanted to fight. Yes. Not DJ. Datrin always wanted to fight, okay? I did not always want to fight. But I hung out with Datrin, so I was always trying to run away from fights because Datrin always wanted to fight. Actually, one time, Datrin took a basketball and threw it as hard as he could and pegged me in the face because he got mad at me. And I did not fight him because I do not want to fight. I'm not a fighter, right? I'm not a fighter. But I'm 1-0 in my life in fights. I want to hear about the story? Yes. It ain't got nothing to do with Datrin. Datrin wasn't there. I was on my own. All right? I was on my own. So, middle school football. 7th grade was the first time we could play. It's not like it is here. We had a 7th grade team and we had an 8th grade team. 2 different teams, right? And at the end of the season, the cheerleaders had made these like cardboard or thick paper footballs with like glitter on them with our number. Yeah, I ain't told in a while though. And I'm sitting on the bus, holding the football on my way home from school, minding my own business, right? And this little kid, well, he's not little anymore. He could probably whip me now. So don't tell him I told the story. But this kid named Jason is sitting behind me, and he He's just that aggravating kid. Y'all know who I'm talking about? Yeah. He's just that aggravating kid. And little nerdy kid, super cool now, I'm sure. Little nerdy kid reaches up, grabs the football. He's like, I touched your football. I say, hey man, we're not gonna do that, okay? Me and Jason have a history. I need to tell that. Okay, we have a history, and he just got under my skin. So he does it again. He's like, yeah, I touched your football. I'm like, hey man, I'm just trying to go home from school. Don't touch the football. So what does he do? He does it again, right? He's like, no, I touched your football. I said, I'll turn around. He was sitting behind me. I said, hey man, here's what's gonna happen. Y'all know how I talk, right? I said, you're gonna sit there and you're not gonna touch my football. And if you do touch my football, I'm gonna turn around and I'm gonna punch you in the face. And he's like, okay, we'll see. So what did he do? He touched the football. I turn around, hit him with the left, right, good night. You know, mouth starts bleeding. His little brother, this tall, comes up to me. He's like, yo, pick up my brother. I said, sit down or you're next. So he went and sat down, right? So I was just on it, y'all. I was like, who else? You know, who else? So did I get in trouble? Good question. So the next day they call me. Of course I didn't tell my mom. Next day they call me in. They said, hey, you're kicked off the bus for 3 days. They get on the phone with my mom while I'm in the principal's office. You know, that's the worst. Like, oh, they're talking to my mom. So all day, and they do it in the morning. You know, they do that on purpose, right? They do it in the morning, so you're thinking about it all day, right? So I get home. I was like, you know, I know she knows. I'm just gonna go in and tell her. I walk in before I can even say anything. She said, what happened? And I told her the story just like I told y'all. And she looks at me, and she bust out laughing. She's like, I know Jason. I know how he is. And you told him you was going to punch him. So I'm proud of you for following through. I'll bring you to school for 3 days. 1-0. Hit it left, right, good night. Hit him with a knockout. Rest is history, right? Now, listen. This dude was not making the best decisions, was he? He didn't believe me. He wasn't making the best decisions. And because of this, it did not end well for him. Okay? So, our friend Eutychus tonight as well was not making the best decisions. Look, we got this story is only 5 verses. Okay, maybe 6. Five or 6 verses, okay? I have so many questions in these verses, all right? So we're going to break it down. I'm going to explain a little bit. Don't touch the carpet. I'm going to explain a little bit. And I got so many questions. I want you to walk through this with me, okay? Acts 20, 7 through 9. On the first day of the week, we gathered with local believers to share in the Lord's Supper. Cool. Paul was preaching to them. And since he was leaving the next day, he kept talking until midnight. What's happening? It's a long church service. Y'all ever been a part of a long church service? I'm talking about the kind 7:30 and Pastor Janet still ain't come up to the keyboard. You know what I'm talking about? Long church service, right? The upstairs room where we met was littered with many flickering lamps. Not only is it a long church service, it's dark outside, or it's dark in the room. We got flickering lamps, right? It's going till midnight. What's about to happen? Y'all can kind of, right? We're about to start catching some Z's, is what's about to happen, right? As Paul spoke on and on, he's long-winded. A young man named, say it, Eutychus, sitting on the windowsill. Hold up. We're 3 stories high. He's sitting on a windowsill. It's long-winded. It's already kind of dim. What's going to happen? You guessed it. Became very drowsy. Buddy's sitting on a windowsill. He's like, Paul, shut up. Whew, right? Probably started snoring. He's probably like, I ain't tired. Y'all sleeping, right? Y'all know how it is. Y'all, there's a story. I'm not even going to go into it. But there was somebody in a church I was at, middle of somebody preaching. I mean, snoring. So loud. So loud. Reminds me of this. Finally, Eutychus fell asleep. He ain't now he's out, right? He is out. And dropped 3 stories to his death below. Okay. So our friend Eutychus is sitting, listen, our friend Eutychus is sitting on a windowsill, 3 stories high. The room's dimly lit. Paul's long-winded. It's midnight. Eutychus is like, bro, you got to shut up because I got to go to sleep, right? This is what's happening, right? He's like, you got to go to sleep. Y'all, pay attention. Pay attention. He's like, I'm about to go to sleep. You gotta stop, all right? You got to stop preaching, all right? Falls asleep. What happens? He don't fall into the room. He falls out the room to the ground, and Buddy croaks. Dead. All right? Are you not listening to the story? He's sitting in the windowsill. It's open, I guess. That's a good question, actually. I'm sorry. That's a good question. Give it up for Riker for asking a good question. All right. anyways. All right. So now we got a dilemma. We have in church. We look out the window. Yeah, Buddy's dead. Right? So Paul's like, no problem. Check out what Paul does. Paul went down, bent over him, and took him into his arms. Don't worry, he said, he's alive. Then they all went back upstairs, shared in the Lord's Supper, and ate together. Paul continued talking to them until dawn, and then he left. Paul said, he's alive. Hold on, not yet. Paul said, he's alive. Now, I got questions, right? No, he's not, Paul. Pretty sure he's dead. No, he's fine. Let's just go back upstairs and continue service. What are we going to do with Eutychus? Right? Buddy's just dead, right? Oh, and then Luke adds the detail. Oh, meanwhile, the young man was taken home alive and well, and everyone was greatly relieved. Now, I got questions, okay? We're in a long church service. Buddy falls out of the windowsill, dies. Paul's like, hey, let's take an intermission. Go get some water if you need it. I'm going to go raise this guy from the dead. Raise him from the dead. Be like, hey, just go back. You're good. I want to know, did he join the service again? Or was he like, did that, died, not going to try it again. But did you die? Yeah, I did. I'm not going back, right? But he dies. They go back to church. I don't really know how long the service continued, right? I mean, I would have been like, let's celebrate. And Paul's like, we'll celebrate later. I got stuff to say, right? That's somebody that really has to preach some message, right? Anyways, a lot of questions. So I'm actually going to take some questions tonight. You probably see that on your notes. I'm going to take some questions tonight. And we're gonna talk about this story. We're gonna learn some things. Okay. Here's the first question that I have about this story. Okay, you see the story with me. You kind of see what's happening. Kind of see what's going on. Yeah. Here's the first question I have. Where did Paul get his power? Where did Paul get his power? Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay. Of course, he got it from the Holy Spirit. It's Acts chapter 20. The Holy Spirit fell in Acts chapter 2. All sorts of miracles were taking place. But let's take the question further. Not only where did Paul get his power, but let's take the question further and ask, why was Paul just okay with this happening and just pretending like it wasn't a big deal? I mean, y'all listen. Paul, you just raised somebody from the dead and you just acting like it's really not a big deal. Like, what in the world is happening here? Where did he get his power? Why does he not think it's a big idea? I mean, he's in the middle of preaching, but he falls out, dies. Paul goes raised from the dead, and then he goes back to preaching like nothing happened. Pretty messed up, right? Like, you just raised somebody from the dead and you think it's not a big deal. Actually, maybe it's not that Paul doesn't think it's a big deal, but maybe he realized that this power is actually normal. Maybe it's not that he's treating it like it's insignificant, but maybe he's treating it like it's normal. And maybe, just maybe, this power is supposed to be normal for us too. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's not fair, Pastor Dylan. I'm not Paul, right? You're not Paul, right? You didn't get shipwrecked. You didn't die like 5 times and get raised from the dead. Like, how fair is that, right? I'm not Paul. And there's other people in the Bible, right? Y'all got to stop talking. There's other people in the Bible, right? It's like, you can't compare me to these people. How do you expect me to do all these great things? It seems silly for us to think like this is normal and it shouldn't be normal for us. Why would you compare me to that? But I feel like this is supposed to be normal for us. But a lot of times we kind of hide behind other people's relationship with God and think it's normal for them, but it's not normal for us. Think about it. How many times are you like, oh, that missions team from Africa is coming home. I can't wait to hear all the miraculous things that God did on that trip. Or, oh, Dr. Dennis is coming. I can't wait for him to speak a word over me. Or man, we're going to camp and great things happen at camp. I cannot wait. We think these things, but Mark chapter 16, this verse right here, I will tell you, these 2 verses right here messed me up and challenged me probably more than some other scriptures in the Bible. Like these verses challenge me a lot. It says, these miraculous signs will accompany those who believe. Everyone say, those who believe. They will cast out demons in my name. They will speak in new languages. They will be able to handle snakes safely, and they will drink anything. And if they drink anything poisonous, it won't hurt them. They will be able to place their hands on the sick, and they will be healed. This scripture tells us that supernatural works will take place, but it also tells us who will operate in the supernatural power. It doesn't say these miraculous signs will accompany those that go to missions trip for Africa. It doesn't say these miraculous signs will accompany Dr. Dennis. It doesn't say these miraculous signs will accompany the breast camp speakers or your grandma who's been praying for you forever. It says these miraculous signs will accompany those who believe. And if we take the Bible for what it says, which we should, then this is a truth that we have to grasp. Maybe if we're not seeing God do supernatural works in our life, it's not that God's picking favorites. It's that we don't really believe what we say we believe. Because it says, those who believe, these signs will take place. And if we're waiting to experience the fruit of God using other people in supernatural ways, it may mean that we're hiding behind the belief of others because we're too lazy to evaluate where we're at and go to those deeper places ourselves. Sure, it's great when Dr. Dennis comes and speaks over us. The difference between him and you is that he spent 6 hours of prayer leading up to the event and God speaking to him. No, I'm not saying you have to go do all of that. I'm just saying if you want to be willing to go to deep places, you have to be willing to take the steps to go there. And I'm going to be the first to admit, I do not see the supernatural works that I want to see coming out of my life. I'll admit it. I don't see these great things taking place in my life the way that I want to. Yes, God's using me in great ways. I'm not trying to say that if you're not raising people from the dead, that you're not even saved. That's not what I'm saying. But this statement, this challenge is for us to evaluate our belief and see where we're really at. Do you even have the faith to go up to a dead body and pray in the name of Jesus, walk, rise again, and see it come back to life? More of an evaluation. I'm not trying to be judgmental and say, man, if you don't see these things, you're not even saved. That's not what I'm saying. But maybe you have enough faith for salvation, but not enough faith for the supernatural. So where did the power come from? We know he got it from the Holy Spirit, but many people today have the Holy Spirit as well. What makes Paul so different? The difference between us and Paul is Paul had a real encounter with Jesus. And I'm not trying to downplay your moment with God. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I think sometimes we kind of try to, I'm close to God, and we kind of try to evaluate that based on what other people perceive about us and all that stuff. And my question is, when's the last time you had a real encounter with Jesus? See, Paul was on his way to kill Christians, and Jesus came and said, we're going to redirect the path. And he said, why do you persecute me? And Paul turned around completely and said, I was killing them. Now I'm becoming one, and I'm never looking back. My question is, do you remember what it was like that moment you got saved? Do you remember what your life was like before you knew Jesus? When's the last time you had a real encounter with God? I even told Pastor Alyssa this, but God has challenged me. And I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying God has challenged me because my life's getting crazy. My life's getting busy. God has challenged me to find a time to take 6 hours in one day, put everything aside, and just chase after God for those 6 hours. I'm not saying you have to do that, but the reason is because I need an encounter with God. And when you have an encounter with God, you move to a place, and this is important. See, Paul didn't just believe in the power of God, but Paul came to know the power of God. And there's a difference in believing in something and knowing it. And we do this by encountering Jesus in this way. He encountered Jesus. And I believe there's many people in the room that are desiring to go deeper. I believe you want to see your friends saved. You want to operate in the supernatural. You want to do impactful things for the kingdom of God. And listen, these things are available to you just like they're available to the greatest Christians that you know. You have the same access. What does it look like? Man, let's turn our phone off for a few minutes when we're at home, and let's just say, God, I want to come after you. But Pastor Dylan, I need my phone. It's the worship music. It's the background. Have you ever, just a question, and none of this I'm saying validates you as a believer, okay? These are just challenges that God's put me through. Have you ever actually prayed without having any stimulus, no background music, no worship music, just in silence, where it literally was just you and God? When I did it, it was weird. All right, I tried. I was like, God, this is weird. Why? Because a lot of times we rely on the music to stir our emotions, to set the tone. I actually found this. One time I couldn't find the music that I usually have in the background, and I changed it to a different background music, and I noticed that my prayers were changing. I was like, why is this? And God's like, it's because you're relying on the music to stir your emotions rather than relying on my presence to take you to a deeper place. Turn the phone off. Get alone with God. Got to do these things. Make him a priority, not just a part of your day. Don't just make time for God, but intentionally get in his presence. Let's be honest. And all of this, y'all, this is me. This is not just y'all. This is me. How many times do we make God a part of our day rather than making our day revolve around God, right? You know what? One of the first things I tried to do, I'm not perfect at it, especially these past 15 months. When I am planning my next day, one of the first things I try to do is say, okay, where am I getting in God's presence? And I try to build everything around that. Am I perfect? No. I'm 35 days behind on my Bible reading plan. I'm not perfect. Okay? I'm not perfect. I'm not saying you're going to be perfect. I'm not trying to say it. I'm better than you in this way. This is for all of us to be better. When you do this, the great wonders of God, when you're intentional and knowing the power, not just believing it, the great wonders of God will be entrusted to you. All right, that was the easy one. Now let's go to the more difficult ones to swallow. All right. Question number 2. Do you see Eutychus sitting in the windowsill? Think about it. Buddy wasn't just standing there and then all of a sudden was dead on the ground. He's sitting in the windowsill. He's becoming drowsy, right? Which means he's slowly falling asleep. Let's back up though. Even if he's not falling asleep, why did nobody say, hey, you're sitting in a windowsill that's dangerous. If you fall, you're going to die? Surely somebody saw him falling asleep. Surely somebody saw him drifting away. Why did nobody say anything? Why did nobody stop what they were doing and say, hey, you might need to pay attention, or hey, why don't you come sit over here? How many of you, if we had a giant window that led to outside and you saw your friend sitting in the windowsill, you'd be like, probably not a good idea. Some of y'all would join them. Yeah, some of y'all would join them. But being for real, right? If you saw your friend sitting in a windowsill, especially if they're falling asleep, right? Especially if they're falling asleep, they're like, hey, let's not do that. Seems crazy for that to take place. But how many times do we see people sitting in the windowsill spiritually, about to fall to their death, and we don't say anything because we're more interested in what's taking place in our lives and how we can receive, right? I'm going to break the news to you. You ready? You are your brother's keeper. You are responsible for the person sitting next to you. You are responsible for calling them out if they're not living the way they're supposed to live. You are responsible for seeing things in their life that don't line up with God and saying, hey, we're believers and we don't act like that. I'm not giving you permission to be judgmental, but what I am saying is so many times we don't want to say anything to our brothers or sisters that are struggling, walking down a dangerous path, giving into temptation. We don't want to say anything because we're more concerned with protecting our friendship than we are about their eternity. Guess what? We're all friends in heaven. But if you in heaven and they not, you ain't friends no more. So if you really want to protect your friendship, let them know, hey, this is a dangerous road. All right? This is a dangerous road. Listen, if I ever call you out, I'm just going to be honest with you, okay? That's because I'm more concerned about your eternity than whether or not you like me. I want y'all to love me, all right? I don't want y'all to think I don't want y'all to love me. I love y'all. I care about y'all. But I'm more concerned with your eternity. I would rather you go to heaven mad at me than go to hell being best friends with me. And you should treat your friendships like that as well. He had one foot in church and one foot headed out to destruction. And nobody said a word. Thankfully, there was a guy there that actually believed what he said he believed and raised him from the dead. But what if Paul wasn't there? Right? Do you see Eutychus sitting in the windowsill? You, your brother's keeper. There's so many times people come to church and they're hurting. They're not living right. They're about to make bad decisions that are going to ruin them. They're halfway in the world and halfway out. You have an obligation to look out for the believers around you. Their eternity is more important than your friendship. Now, I understand, like, we can't just go around saying, you're a sinner, you're not living right, I don't like this one little thing. And that's where we got to be careful. Just because you don't like something somebody is doing doesn't mean they're a sinner and living wrong, okay? People aren't going to do things the same as you, all right? It should not be the tendency to always be calling out people's flaws and all this stuff. I'm saying if somebody's doing something that is destructive and headed down a dangerous path, you as a friend should say something. All right? And if they don't receive it, that's on them. All right? That's on them. You just pray for them at that point. And before you call them out, I would hope you would pray for them and not just act on what you're seeing, but bring it to God and pray for them. Right? We do this stuff. All right? Question number 3. You still with me? Each question's shorter. So this is the shortest one. But this is probably the one that's going to challenge us the most. Okay? Is a fallen Eutychus more important than your church service? See, Paul was preaching and was long-winded because what he had to say was urgent. He was leaving the next day. He had to say everything he needed to say. The disciples were there ready to learn and grow, and this kid falls out a windowsill and dies. But I'm afraid if this story would have happened in the year 2025, most of us would have looked over the window and been like, yep, he's dead. What do you got to give me? Like, what's in it for me? Like, what are you going to teach to me, right? That's how this would have took place. Spiritually is what I'm saying. I'm not saying we would not do anything, but spiritually, it seems crazy that nobody like said anything to him. Like, why are we doing this, right? But how many times do we come to church and it's about what we can receive and what God can do in our life, and then when we leave church, it's like, man, I can't wait to go hang out with my friends again at church. Here's the truth. There are 31,252 people that live in Homa. We have less than 30 in this room. You know what that tells me? This isn't the point. This isn't the purpose. Okay? Here is something that really, when I understood this truth, it really changed the way that I approach my relationship with God. The moment you accepted Christ, you were no longer the mission. The moment you accepted Christ, it was no longer about you. Right? Because now you're on the team. The target changes. Yes, before you know Christ, we're coming after you. We're trying to get you saved and accept Jesus. But the moment you accepted Christ, it was no longer about you. Here's something I think about often, right? How many of you have ever been through some heartache, some pain, some hurt, right? How many of you have ever been through some dark times? Yeah. How many of you have ever been through some dark times or heartache after you accepted Christ? Right? It stinks. I mean, it's better because then we can go to God and He comforts us. But I've thought about this before. Man, why God, when I accepted you, you didn't just take me to heaven right away? I mean, we could have avoided all this pain. We could have avoided heartache. We could avoid hardships. We could avoid temptation, right? Think about all the people that accepted God and fell away. God, if you would have just took them to heaven right when they accepted you, this wouldn't have happened. There's something obviously that is so important for us, that God thinks it's so important for us that the moment we accept Christ, He doesn't take us to heaven. It's so important that God said, I'm willing for you to go through hardships. I'm willing for you to go through dark times. I'm willing for you to suffer a little bit. I'm willing for you to go through the grind of having to choose between me and temptation. I'm willing for you to go through all of this because all of that is not as important as what I left you here for after you accepted me. And what he left you here for after you accepted Jesus is to go get the Eutychuses that have fallen out the window and died spiritually, to go get them and to raise them back to life, to bring them back to the body, to witness to them so that they too can experience the relationship with God that you have. Let's be honest, okay? It's not easy to tell people about Jesus, right? It's scary. My thing is not as scary. It's like, bro, where do I start? Right? Like, let me just, hey, you're a sinner, right? Like, Riker, I'm not gonna tell the story. Maybe one day, right? Maybe one day. Riker did good telling someone about Jesus, right? He had a friend there to help him out, right? He had a friend there to help him out. All right. Y'all, can I tell a story? Yeah. All right, bet. See, I remember the scavenger hunt last year, which, by the way, we're doing again. Scavenger hunt last year. One of the things on there is, hey, go tell someone about Jesus. And then he walks up. Him and Cade walk up to this guy that's playing a guitar, right? And what did you say? He's like, hey, you want to know about? He's like, you heard about Jesus? And he's like, yeah. So what? And Riker's like, it just froze. But Kay was there and cleaned it up, right? Kay was there. I don't think he accepted God, which is unfortunate. But y'all planted a seed, right? Y'all planted a seed. I'm proud of you for doing that, right? Sometimes you got to go through that to tell people about Jesus, right? You know who didn't embarrass themselves that day? Me, because I didn't say anything. But you did, and I'm proud of you. It's part of the process, all right? Part of the process. No, we laugh. We laugh. But here's what's crazy. That 5 seconds, as funny as it was, is the very reason that when Riker accepted God, God didn't take him to heaven. You mean all the hardships, all the pain, all the suffering, all the battling temptation was for that 5 seconds? Yes. Because as Christians, it is not about us. But the American church has made it, what's in it for me? Right? What can I receive? What do you want to do in my life, God? Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying God does not want to give you anything. I'm not saying God doesn't want to grow you. I'm not saying that where you're at with God doesn't matter. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is so many times we make it about us so much. And God's like, man, there's a world out there of fallen Eutychuses that need me, that have died and need to be rescued. Will somebody go raise them from the dead? The purpose of this Christian life is clear. It's not to consume all we can spiritually and be glutton for Jesus. It's not to prove ourselves to those around us how spiritual we are. But Jesus said, go and make disciples. See, the true faith is go and be, but the American church has made it come and see. It's different. We've got it backwards. Here's what I'm trying to say. If all we're ever doing in this ministry is coming here weekly to enjoy some great services, if all we're ever doing in this ministry is going to fine arts and stacking up medals each and every year, if all we're ever doing in this ministry is sweating and working hard to be camp champs, which we still haven't done in youth, we need to do and want to do, but if that's all we ever do, we have missed the purpose. What if you coming to church was actually more about everybody that's not here than it was about everybody that's here? Listen, I am the biggest advocate of going to church. If you know me, I do not believe in missing church, right? There's circumstances where you can. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying if you miss church ever, you're a sinner and going to hell. That's not what I'm saying. But I am not a believer in missing church. However, church is not the point. Sometimes there's going to be a lot of people that come to church that are not even Christian, right? Church is not the point. We're on the last page, y'all. We're doing good. The moment you got saved, this faith was no longer about you. And we need to understand We're having these awesome moments with God, but there's 1,000 Eutychuses out there. Actually, 31,522. Is that right? 31,252 out there dying and laying dead in the community. And God has called us to go reach them. So I know our friend Eutychus hits different parts, right? Different aspects. We learn a lot from Eutychus. How many of you learned a lot from the story today? Right? I'm trying to get back to my strengths. I feel like the strength God has given me is preaching the stories of the Bible, and I'm trying to get back to that. I love preaching stories, so hopefully we'll be hearing a lot more stories lately. But the point is, this story hits so many different areas. Maybe you're in this place and you're like, man, I need an encounter with God. I just haven't had an encounter with God. And I get it. Listen, sometimes it's dry spiritually. Sometimes it's like, man, what is going on? I feel like I'm not close to God. And I want to break a lie real quick. Sometimes when I'm not close to God, I feel like I have to make up for lost time. I feel like I have to work my way back to where I was before I have to go to the deeper place. Listen, here's the beauty about God. In the beginning of the year, God gave me this word reset. God said, in a moment, I'm going to reset things back the way they were. See, this generation has digressed so long away from the principles and the things of God. That's not your fault. I'm not saying it's this generation's fault. It's actually most of the generations before you's fault. We've gotten away from the things of God, but God said, hey, we're not going to have to work our way back to where we once were. But God said he's going to hit reset. And if the people of God will get in the presence of God, we'll experience a revival like we've never experienced before. Like the days of old when they were having all these miraculous signs, God said he's hitting reset. And it starts with one encounter. Don't feel like you have to work your way back to God's presence. Maybe you're in this place and you've been focused on you in this group and not the people around you. Raise your hand. Hi, we're going to do this together. If you're going through something in your life right now. And so many times we're focused on us. Man, what if you're the answer to the person sitting next to you? Wouldn't that be cool if God could use you in that way? And some people, it might not just be things they're going through, but it might be temptation and different things like that. Man, call them out. I understand you may lose a friend. It's better to lose them here on earth than to lose them for eternity. And chances are, if they get mad at you, it's probably because God's already dealing with them in that, and they don't want to admit it, and now you've called them out. We're not going to be judgmental. That's not what I'm saying. We're not just going to, oh, you got this wrong and this wrong and this wrong and this wrong. No, pray about it, right? Maybe if my biggest one is I'm not been focused on the community around me. And I just want to, 2026, our focus is going to be outreach, okay? Our focus is going to be outreach. I'm excited. We have an outreach scheduled connected to fine arts where we're going in the community and doing different fine arts things. It's going to be great. You're going to have an opportunity to talk to people, to share your faith, to share your testimony, right? We're joining with some people with some door-to-door evangelism. It's optional. You don't have to do it, but just an opportunity to go out into the community, right? We're expanding as well and set apart as we've been asked to do more school assemblies at different schools and things like that. So I'm excited, y'all. We're reaching the community. And I want your heart to be that as well. Because there's lost souls all around us that need Jesus. I'm going to invite everyone to stand, invite some leaders to all of our leaders to the front.
Hey guys, thank you for watching. We would love to hear more about what God is doing in your life. So if you want, you can drop a comment down below and follow all of our social media to keep up with everything going on. We would also love to see you in person on a Wednesday night for our worship and service. Hope to see you there.